Ever get the feeling like you're watching one of those financial thriller movies, but like it's happening in real time?
Yeah, total.
That's exactly what it felt like with this whole FTX thing. Billion-dollar valuations, shady dealings, a charismatic leader who maybe, just maybe, wasn't who everyone thought he was. We're going deep on this one. The FTX collapse is a story that sent shockwaves, like really sent shivers down the spine of the entire crypto world.
You know, what's crazy to me is how FTX went from being like the darling of the crypto world, right? To, well,
A complete disaster.
exactly, a total implosion. And so fast, too.
Right, like watching a rocket launch, everyone's cheering and then explodes on the way up. Okay, but before we get into like the nuts and bolts of how it all fell apart, let's make sure we're all on the same page. What exactly was FTX?
In the simplest terms, picture a digital marketplace. FTX was an exchange, a place where you could buy, sell, trade cryptocurrencies.
Okay, so kind of like the stock market, but for Bitcoin and all that.
Exactly.
So it's 2021, the digital gold rush is in full swing, everyone's scrambling to get a piece of the action, and FTX is what, like the hottest ticket in town? What made them so special?
Timing played a big part. In 2021, the crypto market was, well, it was booming. Do you remember that Shiba Inu coin?
Vaguely, yeah, something about a crazy price jump.
Skyrocketed, something like 45 million%.
45 million%. Seriously. That's insane.
Yeah. Everyone and their dog was suddenly a crypto expert, it felt like. And FTX, with their marketing, their charismatic founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, they were in the perfect spot to ride that wave.
Right.
By January 2022, they were valued at, get this, $32 billion. They even got the naming rights to the Miami Heat Arena.
Talk about making it big time. But, as they say, what goes up?
Must come down.
And that's exactly what happened.
Right. Late 2021, early 2022, the crypto market started to cool down. Bitcoin dipped, and everyone felt it. The whole industry.
And that's when things get really interesting, right? Because even with things cooling down, FTX still seemed like they were unstoppable.
Yeah, they were buying up other companies, the ones that were struggling. Yeah. Trying to project this image of like stability amidst all the chaos. But looking back, there were some serious red flags.
Oh, I bet. What kind of red flags are we talking about?
Well, one of the biggest ones came out in an article, this bombshell article published by CoinDesk. It came out on November 2, 2022. And what it revealed was that FTX's sister company, Alameda Research, well, let's just say their financial strategy was questionable.
Okay, now you got to spill the beans. What was really going on at FTX? What was this Alameda Research up to?
To get this, you kind of have to understand FTT tokens. So FTX, they created their own digital token, FTT, which isn't unusual. A lot of these exchanges have their own token.
Oh, yeah, right, like those loyalty programs or whatever.
Kind of, yeah. Except here's the thing. That CoinDesk article, it revealed that Alameda Research had a huge amount of their assets tied up in these FTT tokens, their own self-created digital currency. It would be like a bank backing up all their loans, but with their own version of monopoly money.
Hold on. So they were propping up their entire operation with what basically amounted to play money.
Pretty much, yeah. And it was incredibly risky because FTT's value, it was completely dependent on FTX's success with a house of cards.
And you know what happens to houses of cards? They collapse. So tell me, how did it all come crashing down? And collapse it did. So, like, did people start to realize what was going on?
Oh, yeah. Once that article hit, it was like wildfire. Everyone panicked.
So they all tried to pull their money out at the same time.
It was a classic run on the bank. Our Investopedia article, it actually lays out the timeline really well. It's kind of scary how fast it all happened. Remember Binance?
Yeah, weren't they like the other big crypto exchange?
Right. So at first, Binance, they actually offered to buy FTX, scoop up a competitor, maybe even try to like stabilize things a bit.
Makes sense.
But get this, they took one look at FTX's books and ran for the hills.
Oh, man. That bad, huh?
It was worse than anyone imagined.
So what happened? Binance just bailed on them.
Pretty much. And from there, FTX was in free fall. 10 days.
10 days.
10 days after that CoinDesk article, FTX filed for bankruptcy.
You're kidding. From, what was it, $32 billion to bankrupt in 10 days?
Yep.
This wasn't just some, like, abstract financial thing, right? This is real people losing money. Right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where it gets really unsettling. Because as investigators started digging into FTX, what they found was way worse than just, bad management.
Yeah.
We're talking potential fraud, misappropriation of funds, the whole 9 yards.
Hold on. How much money are we talking about here?
Estimates vary, but it's thought to be at least $8 billion in customer funds just gone, poof, vanished.
$8 billion. Where'd it go?
That's the million-dollar question. It seems like Bankman-Fried was using FTX customer money to cover these super risky bets his other company, Alameda, was making, like robbing Peter to pay Paul, but on a massive, massive scale.
This is starting to sound a lot like a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, it's got some similarities for sure. Remember that Tech Target article mentioned that?
Right, right. Okay, so FTX, it's built on this house of cards. The cards start falling, and Bankman-Fried just starts using everyone else's money to try to hold it up. But where did all that money go?
That's the big mystery, right? Some of it has been recovered, but a lot of it is, well, it's unaccounted for. What we do know is that Bankman-Fried was, let's say, enjoying himself. Luxury properties, millions in political donations. There were even reports he tried to bribe the Chinese government.
He tried to bribe the Chinese government, seriously.
Yeah, it's wild. And to get a sense of just how badly FTX was run, I want to quote something the new CEO said. This is John Ray III. You might recognize the name. He's the guy who oversaw the Enron bankruptcy.
Oh, wow. Okay. Not a good sign. So what'd he say?
He said, and I quote, "Never in my career have I seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information as occurred here."
So FTX wasn't just taking on water, it was like actively being steered into an iceberg.
Pretty much. And the fallout of this whole thing, it's been huge. Not just for FTX and Bankman-Fried, but for the entire crypto industry.
So FTX implodes and it's like dominoes, right? Just bringing down other companies and basically shaking the whole crypto world.
Totally, yeah. Like a wave of fear and doubt just washes over everything. Crypto contagion, they're calling it.
Yeah, that makes sense. If a company like FTX can just disappear overnight, what does that say about, all of crypto?
It was a huge hit to investor confidence, that's for sure. And it wasn't just the small players either. Some of the biggest names in crypto had ties to FTX, and they all felt the heat withdrawals, losses, even bankruptcies.
Wow. So this was like a total meltdown then. But there had to be some good that came out of all of this, right? Lessons learned.
You know what they say? Sometimes it takes a huge mess to really see where the problems are. And FTX, that was a wake-up call.
How so? What did it show everyone?
Well, for one, it showed just how little regulation there was in crypto. Remember how we talked about the Wild West earlier?
Yeah, it did feel like everyone was making things up as they went along.
Exactly. But then FTX happens, and suddenly everyone wants stricter rules, more transparency, more accountability. It's like they realize, hey, maybe we do need some rules around here after all.
So maybe some good will come out of this. More regulation, more transparency. Those sound like good things, right?
Okay.
What about for, like, the average person who's into crypto? What are the big takeaways?
The biggest one, do your research. Don't get caught up in the hype, those promises of easy money.
Because let's be honest, those get-rich-quick schemes almost never work out the way you want.
Never. Take your time, understand what you're actually investing in, look at the risks, and never, ever invest more than you can afford to lose.
Words to live by. But isn't it kind of ironic? Crypto was supposed to be this decentralized thing, right? No rules disrupting the system. And now it turns out maybe some rules weren't so bad after all.
It's kind of funny when you think about it like that. Oh, and speaking of things that are kind of hard to believe, remember how we talked about all that missing money?
Yeah.
Well, FTX might actually end up paying some of it back.
Wait, really? I thought that money was gone for good.
It seemed that way. But earlier this year, FTX said they were going to try to reimburse some customers and creditors.
Wow.
It's a long shot, for sure, but still.
It makes you wonder, though, what's going to be the legacy of all of this FTX stuff? Will it be, this turning point that made crypto better, more trustworthy? Or will it just be, like, a warning sign?
Those are the questions, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what the future holds? But FTX showed us what happens when trust and transparency go out the window, even in the crypto world.
Well said. The world of crypto, folks. Full of twists and turns. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the FTX collapse. But keep those questions coming. We'll catch you next time.